So I got my potatoes out, and these are my seed potatoes. Potatoes I have grown year after year, and so these are potatoes from last year's harvest. I got Yukon Gold, red potatoes, and bacon potatoes. Now they already got some good eyes onto them, and you see that I've got mine whole. You can cut these, like this is a big potato right here. You can cut these and let them cure. And you're going to make sure that you got some eyes, which this potato right here has got good eyes onto it. And you're just going to cut it. When I speak of curing or healing, this right here will kind of scab over, it'll toughen up, and it helps it supposedly not to rot into the ground. My grandmother never did that. She just cut the potatoes. Now a potato like this, she would probably get at least 4 potatoes that would produce 4 plants. I have lots of potatoes right here, and so some of them I'll cut up and then some of them I won't. My focus is just use up all my potatoes because I got bacon, red potatoes, and Yukon Gold. I have to say Yukon Gold is my favorite because it's nice and golden into the middle there. It's kind of a buttery flavor. It's great for French fries, mashed potatoes. So this really is my favorite, and it really grows really super well. So I've got my rows made up, and now we're fixing to get to planting, and I'm going to show you how. One of the things I want to add, I am cutting some of these up, is that you want to let this sit for like 2 weeks for it to kind of toughen up on the outside to heal up. A little bit more crooked than I want it to be, and they're deeper than I want it to be. And then I'm just gonna, if I hold the end of it up, then I could tell that I can make a furrow. I just don't let it just drag. And then I can make a furrow and it won't be as deep, and I can put my potatoes in. So what I'm gonna do is get a rake and try to cover some of this up. And look at my row. Probably draw another string so that I can get my row a little bit more straighter. But this is the first time I'm doing this. I notice when I come down here, I'm not really trying, but just holding it up. It made a little row, and all I had to do was just hold it up, and it will probably be the depth. Just hold it up to the depth that I want. So what I ended up doing, since it already had me a little row, I just took my rake right here and went on the side and raked up and made a hoe because I really want to get these potatoes in the ground today, or get some potatoes in the ground today. And so I decided, well, I got a little row, that'll work until I get used to running it this way. But I think, you know, you got to run through trial and error. But hey, I got it a row made in no time, so I can handle that. So now what I'm going to do is try to get some potatoes and put it in this ground. The sun has gone behind the trees, but what I'm going to be doing is going ahead and making a furrow so I can get my fertilizer in there. And I'm just digging down about 5 or 6 inches deep, getting some roots out. Now that I've got my furrows made, I've got my rows made, I got my furrows made, now I'm ready to put my fertilizer in. Potatoes like nitrogen, they like some nitrogen, they like a balanced fertilizer, NPK. You can start out with 10-10-10, 13-13-13, 34-00, which has no phosphorus or phosphate or potassium. So I'm going to go get the fertilizer and go ahead and put it into these furrows right here. And then I'm going to cover it up a little bit, because then once the potatoes grow and their roots reach down, it'll have its nutrients it's going to need. So I end up going to use 10-10-10 because that's what I got here. That's a balanced NPK. I'm going to just sprinkle some fertilizer in there. Then I'm going to cover it with some soil. And then I'm going to take my rake and pat it down. And then I'll be ready to put my potatoes in. I'll be putting my potatoes about 8 to 10 inches apart. Most people put them about 12 inches apart. I find out planting them 8 to 10 inches apart is perfectly fine. That way I can get more potatoes into my rows. But now I'm just going to take this fertilizer, which is 10, 10, 10. Like you can use 10, 10, 10, 13, 13, 13. You could use 34, 0, 0. I have some of that here. But I think I'm just going to start out with 10, 10, 10. I would usually like to use 13, 13, 13 if possible, but I don't have any. Now, my garden already has fertilizer and lime in it. So I think that 10, 10, 10 will be pretty good starting out. As time goes on, just like with most plants, you're going to have to feed your plants. And at the very end, when it gets near the very end, should I say, then you're going to back off of the watering, you're going to back off of the fertilizer, and you just can pretty much let this potato sit there and mature. So watch my other videos on how to plant potatoes and see how beautiful they are. But now I'm just going to go ahead and start putting some fertilizer in these rows. Like I said, take my rake and cover that fertilizer up, pat it down, and then I'll be ready to put my potatoes in. I'm putting them 8 to 10 inches apart, and then I'll just cover them up, and that's all you got to do. So my sound was off. So what I did is I just planted these potatoes 8 to 10 inches apart. Some people plant them 12 inches apart, but I go between 8 to 10 inches apart. I plant them with the eyes up. The ones on the very end that I cut, Grandma and Mama never used to let them cure for 2 weeks. The part that you cut to heal up, and so they just put them in the ground. Since I wanted to finish up this row, I just went ahead and put the ones I just cut down there. And now I'm going to take with this row, and I'm going to put the red potatoes down, and I'm going to do the same thing, and then I'm going to cover it. But for the sake of this video, and I got some baked potatoes, so I'm going to have to make another row. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and cover up these potatoes and show you what I do. I'm just covering them. Now they'll be covered up about 3 inches in dirt. What I like to do is go down one side and then come back on the other side. Then I'm going to pat it down. Now, I'm going to pat it down, but I want to say, you see that my potatoes are up on the hill. I always plant up on the hill. Only did one time not planting up on the hill, and we had a lot of rain, and I lost all my potatoes. The reason I plant up on the hill, because if we do have a lot of rain, well, no one can predict the future except God, you know, and it's already predestined. But if we have a lot of rain, then these potatoes are more off the ground, up higher, than having them flat and have more of a chance of a survival. So that's why I plant with a hill. You want to go lower, if you go lower, it's not going to hurt anything. Most of the time people plant them lower, and then as the plant grows, as it gets about 5 or 6 inches, 7 inches, somewhere around there, as the plant is up and growing, then people will go and push that dirt around the plant. But I always have a hill, and then I do put a little bit of dirt. Most of the time my roots will just reach down, and I don't have to hill that much. Now I'm going to plant the red potatoes, and I'm going to do the exact same thing as I did over here, and then we're going to watch these babies grow. So the soil has been tilled up. It's going to be, so it's nice and fresh, and it's going to be irrigated, you know, so the air can get good to the plants and to the roots. You know, it's not saturated or locked in. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and plant the rest of these potatoes, and then I'm going to have to make another row for the baking potatoes. I think my little furrow attachment on there, Hiller and furrow attachment did great. I think it's something I'm going to have to play with a little bit, but it did do great. You know, it broke up the ground. The ground was already tilled up. It broke it up. It made my little row, and it did make it easier on me. So maybe with making the row for the potatoes, then I'll get more used to it, and maybe I won't have to do this method. But excuse me, this is a method I've always done my whole entire life, and it always works. So I took my little tiller, and with my attachment, my furrow hill maker, and I ran me a row. It took no time. And I came up with an idea. I think what I'm going to do is up here with this furrow right here, I'm going to go ahead and lay my fertilizer down. I'm going to take my rake and cover the fertilizer up a little bit, put my potatoes down, and cover them up just like I did over here. It took no time to use that. It's just going to take me getting used to it. I have a stick here, actually a handle, and I have mark on here 32 inches and of course up to 3 feet. And while I'm walking down the row, as I go back after my row is made, and I'm walking up and down the row, that's how I kind of measure it, is to help me to see if I'm getting just about on track. I have something at the one end of the row, something at the other end of the row to give me a target to look at, and then I take this and I kind of go down to kind of see. Now, I've never had perfect rows. I don't think I ever have perfect rows. I would love to pull a string and try to get them as perfect as I can, but that's really going to take too long, and I've never seen a plant care about having a perfect row. And I don't think I've ever had a perfect row. But when you know what those plants grow, you can't even tell it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my fertilizer, I'm going to throw it down here and cover it up and put my potatoes in, and I'll have these baking potatoes planted.